This is former President Jimmy Carter. Rosalind and I like the stone cold truth because, like me, Roger Stone always tells the truth.
Yes, Roger Stone tells the stone cold truth, which is what you are listening to right now here on the Genesis Communications Network. Roger, unfortunately, has taken ill. Joining us, an up-and-coming media star and journalist. Jack, welcome to the Stone Cold Truth.
Appreciate it.
For those who don't know what your background is, how'd you get involved in politics and what do you do now?
Right now, I'm currently the Washington bureau chief for Rebel Media. I just spent my first week in the White House at the White House press corps, and we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Sort of my background, I've worked on 4 different presidential campaigns and other campaigns for Republicans, and I spent about 5 years in the U.S. Navy, both as enlisted and officer, with multiple overseas deployments.
Jack, you had an amazing Twitter explosion this week with regard to the French presidential election. I was fascinated by that. You created a hashtag and it just went viral.
Yeah, so I created the hashtag Macron leak in reference to Emmanuel Macron, who was running, and I guess he's the current, or I guess he will be inaugurated as president of France. There was a huge treasure trove of archived emails and photos and documents of his, which leaked onto the website 4chan, specifically the board poll, where a lot of interesting reporting, interesting information does tend to get leaked these days. And I'd heard, there were some messages, some chatter on there that, hey, something big is coming with the French election. So I literally just sat there hitting refresh for like 12 hours straight. And boom, the minute I saw it, we took a look at the documents. I passed them over to a few people to verify it, and they came back and said, yeah, this is legitimate. So went right to Twitter with it and said, you guys got to check this out. And it's funny, I actually went and left Twitter for a while after that, went to Milo's party with Roger, believe it or not, down in Miami.
Right.
And then later on at the party, someone came up to me, have you seen this thing Posobiec put out? I was like, no, what's Posobiec talking about? What's he doing? And realized that it had, gone worldwide at that point.
Well, that's got to be, after sitting 12 hours hitting refresh, I've certainly been there for concert tickets.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that.
I was wondering if you made it seem so easy. I figured he just had a little thread he grabbed onto and ran with it. But no, it's good to know there's work behind it. So you certainly deserve the acclaim for it. Where do you go? How do you develop what news stories or topics you want to cover, just generally speaking?
There's 2 pools I use. One, definitely I use sources and connections that I've made through my years working in the Navy. I did spend time in Navy intelligence, so those intelligence community contacts that definitely fan out throughout the government. But then also having Twitter, having that base of so many followers and so many people, you'll get people all the time that say, hey, I've got a story, hey, I've got something for you, you should cover this. And if someone sends me something that's fairly salacious or fairly interesting, typically you'll have users on there that they might be an anonymous account. You don't know who they actually are in real life, and some of them actually are FBI agents, people in different parts of the government, people in different sectors of the government, or even the administration, and they're willing to reach out because they've seen the fact that we're doing real journalism and the fact that we're not going to put this conspiratorial spin on it like the mainstream media would. We're going to report what's going on, and so they're willing to give us this information.
Boy, isn't that irony that the mainstream media, as you call it, they're the conspiracists, so to speak, now, that they're the ones coming up with all the conspiracy theories.
Everything's a conspiracy with them. I sit in the press room all week this week, and it's when did Trump decide to, why didn't Trump fire Comey originally? Was it based on this recommendation, or did he do it himself? He fired him. Like what are you trying to point out here? Like what are you getting at?
It's amazing to me. They ignore real conspiracies that occur in our history, let's just say. I know Roger Stone wrote The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. I've personally been studying that event in our history for many years since I was young. And
I devoured that book by Roger. I probably read the entire thing in less than 24 hours.
It's gripping. When you look at Johnson, look at the veneer that they put on him in history, Lyndon Johnson. The man was an amoral psychopath. Donald Trump looks like a priest, a Jesuit priest, compared to Lyndon Johnson. Yet you will not hear that in the mainstream media, who revere a leftist demagogue and tyrant like Lyndon Johnson because he fits their ideology.
Yeah, he says all the right things to them. He plays the game of sucking up to get the press coverage he wants, and they completely overlook the fact that he said extremely racist things. He put out policies that he knew would be detrimental to the black families in black America, and he essentially ran the White House like a megalomaniac. for so many years, but it's all covered up because, well, he's Johnson and he's one of ours. I actually went on MSNBC with
Behar?
Not Joy Behar. What's her name? AM Joy. Joy Reid.
Okay.
And she had me on in a panel, and it was kind of before my name had really been out there. She didn't know who I was. And I started talking about how Johnson was against the Civil Rights Act. And she's like, that's not true. That's not true. But yes, it is, Joy. He was totally against it for so many years.
Oh, yeah. Very cynical. Well, having the last name Nixon, I've had to live with this. I was a young kid in the 80s to get interested in politics and even in the Republican Party. Oh, you better change your name. And I look back and think Nixon was a piker compared to Lyndon Johnson. But I don't want to get derailed onto Lyndon Johnson. I think, there's interesting events happening currently. But, the point was.
Well, and just thinking back from Nixon is the media is trying to paint what Trump did this week to Comey and say, oh, he's Nixon now. And then
exactly.
Firing Comey. And then Trump goes and tweaks them a little bit by bringing Henry Kissinger into the office.
Trump is a genius. It's almost savant level in terms of how he is able to tweak, just grab their nose, you know what I mean? Just sort of pluck their nose and have them freak out, absolute, head exploding freakouts all over, up and down. And it's just exposing them. He is really the revealer. He is letting them reveal themselves by how they react to him. And it's genius. And I think it's really a seminal presidency in the life of this republic. And I hope at the end of it, we have the fake news, the mainstream media have been beaten back to where they belong, which is relegated to just hagiographers for their ideological darlings on the left. And that's it, and taken no more seriously than that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the role that I see with myself as being part of the White House press corps now, is that, I'm in there and I'm reporting on the press briefing and I'm reporting on what Sean Spicer may have to say that day, or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who filled in for 2 days this week, or anyone else. H.R. McMaster gave us a briefing. But what I'm also doing is I'm reporting on the people around me, and they do not like that. I'm taking pictures of them with their notes and their computer screens up. I'm telling you what they're talking about, and they hate it. They say, you're not supposed to film here. Don't take that picture.
Right.
And I mean, big names that you would know have come up to me. You're not welcome here. That seat's not for you. You shouldn't be here. All that stuff.
Jack, is that not the height of hypocrisy, which I touched on with Travis Irvine earlier, who does media interviews, that these people don't want to be themselves reported on or questioned or in any way exposed? This is your job, supposedly, their jobs, in other words, and they certainly relish exposing and making stuff up, yet they don't want to be scrutinized. It amazes me that they're so unself-aware, I guess would be the word, to make up a word there.
Yeah, that's just it too. And I actually turned to my producer after the one thing, and I said, we're staying in a room full of cameras, but these people, they're all coddled, and they're all so used to being the ones firing ammunition at other people. And I've been so nice. I've been so polite to everyone. I haven't said anything negative, anything insane or offensive. I'm like, hey, I have to work with these people. I'm not trying to, go in there and pick fights.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, man. We're coming to the end of the show here, but this is Jack Posobiec. We're going to have you on again, my friend. That's been a great interview. We appreciate you joining us.
In the New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, Roger Stone has gathered documents and uses his first-hand knowledge to construct the ultimate book to prove that LBJ was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but he was in fact the mastermind. Find out how and much more in The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Get yours today at lbjkilledjfk.com.